So everything from the Ten Commandments is not covered by the moral law.
The other problem is yes, love covers a multitude of sins, but the problem is that none of us can perfectly love.
That's why we have grace.
We have hatreds, prejudices, everything else that's common to every individual.
If you have hatred towards someone,
guilty of murder.
Do you not feel some sense of you need to repent for having that hate and ask God to repair that hate and make you not hate that person? Okay.
Yep.
See, there's your grace. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
But
you're supposed to try to walk in that the best way you can. And when you screw up and trip, you repent. It's not to say that
nobody's arguing against that.
It's not to say that purposely you can put it in your head that I'm going to go do this, even though I know it's a sin, I'm going to go do it, because there you've screwed up.
Nobody's arguing that.
This way. That's exactly what David did.
What are you talking about?
That's exact. He slept with Bathsheba.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Bathsheba got pregnant with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And before the news, and I'm sure there are already whispers within the palace, but before it spread everywhere in his kingdom, God tried to get Uriah to come home, who was a Gentile, a Hittite of all people.
And he had him killed.
All right. Wouldn't sleep with his wife because he was more righteous than David was.
Yep.
He said, my men are out suffering in the field. Far be it for me to go home and sleep with my wife. So David instead had him carry the own letter that told the general, hey, you know what? Take Uriah to a place where the fighting is the hottest, then retreat from him. Basically murdering him.
Yes, I know.
And he thought, hey, I got away with this. Until
up later on down the road repenting.
Nathaniel and said, hey, told him that parable. David got enraged and he said, that's really not, there really is no person. You are that person. There was no repair in the Levitical law for what David had done. None. Because he had premeditatedly murdered and slept with another man's wife and then had her husband murdered.
Multi convictions of the death penalty.
So you're saying even back then you couldn't ask forgiveness. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that back then there was no covering for your forgiveness. The Jews understood that every sin had to be covered by a sacrifice.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one they didn't have a covering
sacrifice for the sins that David committed. That was there was only one way out for David, and that was murder.
Yeah.
That was the actually capital punishment, death.
Okay.
But in God's goodness, God said, you know what? I'll spare you the death penalty, but your family is going to pay.
Right.
He made the woman and the child leave.
No, the child died, I thought.
Yeah, the child of that child died.
I thought that she was ordered to take the child and leave.
No. I believe you're going back and thinking of the
story where somebody
that would be the maid. That would be the maid servant. That would be Sarah's maid servant.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's where Islam came from.
Okay. Well,
that's a theory.
There you go. The point is, he lost his son, but look at how many people God opened up the earth and said, "You're gone," because they screwed up.
Because of that, yes, that's true. Noah's the flood, for instance, he killed all mankind.
Yeah, but I'm talking about since the flood. I'm talking about when they came out of Egypt. When they came out of Egypt, people that argued. What about the people that didn't want to go up the mountain to see because they found out there were giants there and they freaked out and everything else and they rebelled against what God told them to do and they came back and
story.
Yeah, but they walked in the desert for 40 years until even Moses couldn't even see the promised land, correct? So
he got to see it.
He got to see it. He didn't get to step foot on it, but he got to see it.
Oh, okay. This its foot on, right?
Until Jesus came around, then he got to step his foot on it.
Yeah.
Right.
This is misunderstood subculture correspondent Tech Roo, and you are listening to Mojo 50 Radio. You're listening to a kangaroo. No, really, you are. Stay fuzzy.
Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water, Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change want to see the sea levels rise. And for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Questions, comments, compliments, criticisms, suggestions. Shoot us an email to tincanradio@protonmail.com.
So are there any other questions that we missed?
Do we want to hit any other scriptural support for our beliefs on homosexuality?
About it being a sin?
Yeah. Because there's more than just arsenic coite.
I got a whole bunch of them, which I'm sure somebody will say that they're not. But 1 Corinthians 6:9 is one of them. Be not deceivers, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminates, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, covetous, drunkards, revelers, right? So that's one. 1 Timothy 1:10, for them that defile themselves with mankind.
Yeah.
Defiling yourself with mankind is a sodomite. Sodomite is man with man. And, you know, some people might try to say, well, that means women can. No. Let's see, what else do I have?
We got the part where it says that men, gave up their, how was it worded?
Their natural right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
their
looking at
natural
that.
Inclinations to
Romans 1:24 or 1:27, leaving the natural use of a woman.
Also, right. He also commends with the women, you know, burning with lust, you know, did what is shameful to each other. So
God gave them over to reprobate minds.
Right. There's no way you can slice it that makes it okay. But there's no way that you can slice it that says if you're a thief. There's no way that you can slice it that says, you know what, if you're committing adultery. There's a big word in the New Testament is the porneia, from which we get pornography. Mm-hmm. Right, which is all sorts of sexual immorality.
Say? What word?
Porneia.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said pharmakia. I was like,
no, it's a different category.
That's witchcraft.
Not farm porn.
And it's. I think what bothers Christians most about homosexuality is that we can see the schism in the nature of it, but there's so much. I'm going to go with Kinsey here and say there's so much sin. And there's so much wrong in a person's heart that sometimes there are bigger fish that God needs to fry in your life before you get down to that point of, you know, same-sex attraction or, you know, homosexual acts. And that, again, is God is God. He's allowed to be and judge and deal with whomever he does because he can see the exact makeup of every person, everything that they've went through. He knows the number of hairs on my head, which change daily. He knows exactly how many cells my body is made up from. He knows my thoughts before I think them, like David said. These he is intimately aware of. And he's going to go, you know what? just like he did in my life. Here are the big things that you need to tackle. And as I tackled those, guess what? It's like a never-ending story. It's like, oh, I didn't see that problem. Now that I cleared out some weeds, I found some more weeds,
Yeah.
But keep going down the list every day.
But the thing is you were working at it every day. You weren't, I'll get to it later, down the road, whatever. I'm just going to keep.
And some of those facts were the fact that I was going, I'll get to those later. That's not that important, until it became, it's that important. All right. No one else on the planet is fit for showing me when I needed to tackle things and where I needed to tackle things, but God. And the reason I did all these things is because God did.
Right.
All right. I'm going to go along with C.S. Lewis. God dragged me kicking and screaming into the kingdom of God. I didn't go willingly.
Let's go ahead and hit this question. Are there rational reasons to be opposed to homosexuality outside of the Bible?
I think yes.
I think as long as they're not claiming Christianity, we're to correct our brother and sister only. We're to witness to them. We're to love them just like any other person.
That doesn't answer the question.
Outside of the Bible.
The whole purpose of life is to propel the species forward.
To procreate. All right.
Procreate.
All right. Okay. Look at it like this. What is the scientific point of life? It's to create offspring and keep your species going.
Yep.
2 trees reproduce. 2 dogs reproduce. A male and a female is required. If you have 2 guys sticking in each other, what is that going to create other than constipation?
I agree with you 100%.
It might relieve constipation.
I read that at the beginning. God created man and woman to procreate.
We're going outside of the Bible now. We're going
outside of the Bible. The whole scientific purpose or theory on life is that everything exists to reproduce.
That is my oldest son, guys, Franklin.
I figured it was Franklin.
And he's correct. If you remove God from the picture, all we are is biological machines that are driven to pass on our genetic information. If we fail at that task, we have failed at the only ought that nature can provide to humanity. Because outside of that, there is no purpose. And even with inside of that, the fact that we know that we live in a cosmos that is racing towards a heat death, and in several billion years, there will be no suns, no anything, no chemical interaction at all, ergo no life anywhere in any of the trillions of galaxies, it's pointless.
Now, I got another angle to help reinforce this argument. More than just biology. This is scripturally backed, but you can see it out in humanity. So you don't need the Bible to recognize this. But whenever we got the story of creation of Adam and Eve, Eve was created to be a helper to Adam.
Right.
And whenever you look up in the Hebrew what the terms are for helper, I done forgot what the word actually was, but I remember the study through it and what it actually was meaning. And it's also a word that was used to describe God with his relationship to Israel at the time. And it is basically not just a helper. It's not it's actually not a subservient position.
Right.
Basically what it means is that person is going to be strong where the other person is weak. And if you look at the traits that you have between a husband and wife, traditionally speaking, they complement each other. They go together. They make things more complete. You have a little bit further of a development as far fallen as we are now, to where you got a lot more women that probably would be able to bench more than some of the weaker men compared to what it would have been back in those days. But still, I guess you could see that you can still have the same match, because now for the butch females, you got the effeminate men to match.